Welcome back to Owldragon Inventors. I'm Scott Kegler.
And I'm Rob McPherson.
And this is an overview and review of 24 games from 2024. So this is just going to be kind of a casual rundown of a lot of the games we've played this year. Our goal is to get through 24 in the next however many, 24, 30 minutes.
Give or take.
Yeah. So just light overview of the games and our thoughts on them as we played them throughout this year.
All right, so let's dive right in, shall we?
Yeah.
All right, so first up, we've got from Leader Games this year, we've got Arcs. So Arcs is a trick-taking based area control 4X game, really, at its core.
Yeah, essentially.
But it's all based around trick-taking. It's a really, really cool mechanic. It benefits you to play lower cards as opposed to higher cards a lot of the time because you want to lose the tricks in order to gain the benefits. There's a lot that we could go into in this game. We've only gotten to the table once so far, got it scheduled for our Black Friday day coming up next week, so I'm very excited to bring it back to the table and just play it nonstop for like 5 hours through those 3 sessions. Right now, I'm sitting at about an 8.5 or 9 out of 10, and it's going to kind of evolve as we play through the campaign mode, though.
Yeah, I really liked it. I mean, it's essentially a evolution of a game if you ever played called Draku. So I just felt like if Draku was not just like moving left and right, it was a more expansive 4X game, but essentially it's like to your point, trick-taking, influencing, dudes on a map game.
Right,
so,
yeah.
So I really enjoyed it as well. I'm probably about around 8 out of 10 as well on that one. Up next, we have Andromeda's Edge, another space 4X-y kind of game.
Year of space, apparently.
Yeah, because we need to get out of this one. No, it is a spiritual successor to Dwellings of Eldervale, which is a fantastic, worker placement, dudes on a map type game with specialty workers. This one has a little bit more going on. It's a little bit more of a deeper dive as far as mechanics than Dwellings, but they very much feel like the same game. Yeah. And that's not a bad thing. I think the re-theming of it and the additional resource management, additional rules in the game, I thought was just, it was fun. I already enjoyed that game, so it's just more of the thing I enjoyed. So that's usually a good thing. And you particularly like the theme on it.
Yeah, I mean, the theme for me, fantasy and space are always going to be neck and neck for me, with space eking it out just a little bit. I like the tech tree cards that you get along the side of your player mat. That adds a little bit, but I will forever miss the hats of houses.
Yeah, that was we did like making the little dwellings where you just you basically sacrifice a
house
person, now you're a house. Yeah, but overall, I again for me, I need more plays of it because I think it's one of those games like Dwellings where I just need to see more of it. So I'm probably gonna ultimately land somewhere between 8.5 on it eventually.
Yeah, that sounds about right for me too. We've only gotten to the table once so far. It's a big game, so it takes a little bit of effort to get it to the table. But yeah, somewhere around an 8.5 for me too.
Awesome.
Next up on our list is going to be Inventions. It's from one of our new favorite designers, Vital Lacerda. So nice small game, compact. Yeah, new to us. Sorry. New favorite of ours. Yeah. Definitely not a new designer. We just kind of, actually it was just this year that we really dove
Yeah, we kind of
in.
dove heavy. I mean, it's been the year of Euros for us. So that's one thing we'll be talking about in some of our upcoming videos. Like it's just been such a Euro worker placement year for us. But.
Yeah, so I missed the Kickstarter on this one, but I hunted down a copy real quick once it released, and no regrets at all. It's got all the meaty goodness of any of the Lacerda games. I've only played it solo so far. Again, see previous comments about big games and time to get them to the table. But I really like the rondelle style action placement and the building up of the inventions throughout the various eras. Look forward to seeing it multiplayer. Right now, I'm going to sit at about an 8 out of 10 on it. And that's only because I've only seen it solo. I really see that this could go up to about a 9 or a 9.5, to be honest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the rondelle, I think, has a lot to grow from multiplayer. You know how rondelles are in solo? Like, it's only against one other, like, mock player, so you can't really see it to its full extent.
So on the complete opposite end of the spectrum from a game like Lacerda, one of the other games we played this year was Mlem, designed by Rainer Knizia, I believe.
Yep.
And played this one actually surprisingly a lot this year.
Yeah.
Mlem. We first saw it at, I think, PAX last year was at the first look.
And we never got to play it because it was always busy.
It was always crowded. I'm like, this has got to, I mean, it's like Rainer Knizia, so they're usually going to be in a solid range. But I really get a kick out of this one. in the spirit of a lot of push your luck type games, like
it feels like a first rat or
or like Can't Stop
Yep.
or Spots, but like there's just a little bit more going on. There's more gaminess on which cat you choose. You're basically sending cats into space. Very silly. Catronauts, right?
I don't think that's what they call them, but
we were calling them. Yeah. And it's great production value on the game too for the price point of the game.
The base mat is neoprene and it rolls right out,
Yeah.
which is great because I don't think it would have worked as cardboard because it's a long map. It's probably like 3 feet long.
Yeah, it's because you're traveling up through the universe. So I got a kick out of it. I've played this with heavier gamers. I've played this with people new to the hobby at events, and I really get a kick out of it. This one's a solid 8 out of 10 for me for this type of game.
Yeah, so I was at about a 7.5 out of 10 on it, and then we found out we were playing the rules wrong, and once we played the rules correctly, then it jumped up easily to an 8 out of 10.
I will say what also bumps it for me is it's if you don't get it with this, hunting down a copy of the promo with the dogs that get added to it, I think that really it bumps the game up a little bit.
I got to search again.
Yeah.
Grumpy, you got that.
Yeah.
Great game. So next up is another game in the Endeavor series by Grand Gamers Guild. So this one's Endeavor Deep Sea. I honestly don't know what caught my attention on this one because usually oceanography, like that type of stuff is more up your alley in terms of like boats and islands and stuff. But there's something about it caught my attention. I've gotten to the table a couple times solo. It does play multiplayer, but it's one of those games that I'm like, yeah, I could play it multiplayer, but I mean, I'm going to get the same exact experience, so I'll probably try it a couple of times.
Right.
But really, really cool game. I like how there's a bunch of different ways that you can kind of dig for the different, they're not victory points, but you can dig for the different victory conditions, essentially. So in the solo mode, you've got an array of, I think it's 7 different victory conditions, and depending on which difficulty you're playing at, you would need to accomplish a certain number of those to do it. But basically, you're moving your submarines around on an expanding ocean map, and it's a side view of the ocean. So you've got your top level, and then you're going a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper, and you have to increase your statistics on each of your things so you can get like more powerful experts that can help you out, or you can go deeper into the sea or things like that. So it's a really good game. I lost terribly the first, second, and third times. I did win the fourth time on easy mode, but I'm proud of it. So it's a fantastic game. Right now it's sitting about an 8 out of 10 for me. Really want to get to the table a couple more times and see. That was all the first mission, and there's 8 of them if I'm not mistaken. Don't call me out if I'm wrong on that. There's a lot of games over there that I'm playing through right now. But no, really good game. Solid title.
Next on the list is a game that came out from Kickstarter. I believe it was Kickstarter. Earlier this year. That was Bardwood Grove, designed by Carl von Ostrand and published by Final Frontier Games. Spoilers for coming up when we're getting to our best of games of 2024. This is high on my list for the year. I love Bardwood Grove. This is a really fun. Yeah, it's right over there. In the spirit of things like I'm a huge fan of, I've talked about before in videos of Raiders of the North Sea. Bardwood Grove in the same way is like I'm never taken away from playing the game.
So much momentum going on.
And the same thing with Raiders, like which we just played again recently, and we're like, this is one of these perfect games where like I'm never really like out of it, waiting on my turn. Like it's just constantly moving forward.
The worst thing that can happen in Bardwood Grove is you have to sing too soon.
Right. Yeah. So there's a lot of singing is like one of the major actions you take in the game, which is hilarious, and everyone goes, "I'm singing" on their turn, yelling it across the table. But you're building up. It's a deck builder.
Yep.
And worker placement, kind of journeying around on the map to do certain actions throughout Bardwood Grove as these various bards, and they're all starting off asymmetrical. So I love when I have my own specialty.
And they're not just like a slight asymmetry. They're like very. I mean, you play the game the same. But
you're starting
Merchant's
deck.
Cove.
Yeah, it's like Merchant's Cove in the same spirit of that. It's in the same world of that, and it is you're all starting off as like a drummer. So your drummer has a certain ability that he can go on the board. It's such a kick out of this one, and it is also one of these ones where has unlockable content, even in the base game, the base retail.
My favorite.
Where you are going to get new bards and new cards and new rules as you go along throughout the game. So I highly recommend this one. Maybe the highest, if it's neck and neck with another game that I'll talk about in a little bit for my one of my games of the year. So that's Bardwood Grove.
Yeah, the
highly
2024
recommend.
game of the year for me is going to be a rough this year.
I've got a few hot contenders here.
I know we say it every year.
But this one was really just, it's a delightful game to play.
Yeah.
So Bardwood Grove. I'm gonna hold off on rating it yet because I think it's gonna be a very high rating for me. I just want to unlock everything before I make that decision.
So you're just gonna
leave it hanging there.
If I give it a number. You know,
oh yeah, well
I'm jumping the gun here. I'm gonna give it a number. I'm gonna say it's a 9.5 out of 10 for me.
Okay.
I honestly, just the fact that there are unlocks is always going to boost a game for me, especially when they're unlocks that
are meaningful.
They're meaningful, and also that they don't make it so once you've unlocked everything, you're like, cool, the game is done now. Like it adds something that I want to keep playing with,
right.
Which is really important. And there are I love the experience of games that unlock it, and then when you're done, you're done. But this is going to be, I love it. I mean.
Yeah, I'm gonna do we'll probably do a longer video on this one.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Once I get we have 2 more boxes to unlock and our playthroughs on it.
Yeah.
So awesome. So that's Bardwood Grove. Great game. Also a Connecticut designer, so from our neck of the woods.
Next up on the list is going to be Sand from Devere. It's one of their small box series. Is that what they're
medium,
officially called?
I think it's called their medium box series, if I'm being honest. I think that's what like the White Castle 3-ring circus, stuff like that.
Right. I'll use the same cardboard box. They must have gotten a good deal from the manufacturer. So I was really excited to pick this one up because we really did love 3-ring circus, and we did love the White Castle.
And Red Cathedral, all those.
And Red Cathedral, exactly. So picked this one up, very excited about it, and it didn't disappoint. Really cool game. It is a pick up and deliver, which is not high on our list
we always
of
end
mechanics.
We always end up enjoying them.
It's true. So let me rephrase. It's not high up on our list of mechanics we will tell you we like.
It may not have sizzle when I look at someone saying, "Oh, it's a pick 'em deliver," but like whenever I play a pick 'em deliver, I'm like, "No, I like doing this."
Yeah, like what was it? Small Railroad Empire.
Yeah,
we're like, it's a pick up and deliver. We play it. It's like, this is delightful.
There's a pirate one too that we played. There's it's just like kind of those games where you're just. I just played them the other day, Explorers of the North Sea. It's just like I just enjoy that stuff.
Yeah. So it is. We haven't really dug into it as much as we have 3-ring circus or White Castle. Those we played a lot right now. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a lot more to uncover, to dig up, as you will, from Sand. Sorry.
You care for your worm.
You care for your worm, and it grows throughout the game, and
stop.
It allows you to travel faster throughout the desert.
Yeah.
And basically what you're doing is you're going from town to town in the desert, and you are... this is also another game that has singing. It's got the sing mechanic that we didn't exploit too much, because I think that there was just a lot going on that we really needed to get a replay in to really feel for it. Really solid game right now. I'm going to hold off on giving a number on this one because I don't think it's fair yet with only one real play. I played it solo, but it wasn't quite enough.
I'm floating around. I mean, I haven't played it nearly as much as I played the other smaller games, but I'm probably coming around somewhere to like a 7 out of 10.
I think that's where I'm at.
It's a good game, but it wasn't like something that I'm like it's not like the White Castle. I will throw that down and play it any time, anywhere.
Yeah, to give you an idea, like I've had it on my shelf now for about 4 months. I played it once solo and once with the group, and we keep saying we're going to get back to it. So we obviously like it, but it hasn't come back to the table yet. So good game, but looking forward to seeing what else Devere has in their series.
Absolutely.
They got a couple of another.
Yeah, there's one I want to pick up. That's one of my short lists on packs this year for me.
Nice.
So up next is a game that was pretty hot this year, was on the top of the hotness when it first came out, was Harmonies. I'm going to say this wrong, so I've got it in front of me. The designer is Johan Benvenuto. I'm thinking I got that right. But then the publisher is Libelund, which I'm not as familiar with. No. But it is a kind of like in an Azul way where it's drafting and then creating patterns. But what's fun about this one is you're building them rather than building out like your Azul tiles.
Yeah.
It is more you're stacking them and creating a little landscape. Because as you create the right arrangements, you collect animal cards that you're trying to build the right habitats for. So you get the right water with grass assortment, and that's like what your crocodile needs. So now you're scoring crocodiles in that area. Yeah. And each person is scoring their own animals throughout the game. So like I am working on these 3, so I need these.
The drafting part of it.
There's a
drafting market of drafted
you're
cards.
Drafting animals, and you're drafting the tiles or the little circular wooden tiles.
Yeah, what I loved about it is the fact that it plays to its name a lot, because just because you have one area that is a habitat for a certain animal, you can use part of that to help build a habitat for a different animal, as long as the placement of the actual animal token doesn't overlap.
Right.
So it really played to its theme quite nicely, and it felt like you, as much as an abstract ever will, it felt like you were actually building this environmental area.
Yeah. A lot of fun, a nice light. I preferred it to Azul, and I played it a bunch this year. And I've always liked Azul, but I think it's the...
Which version of Azul? Azul Chocolate?
Oh, God, no.
Azul Christmas?
I'm an Azul classic guy. No, but I like Azul fine. I think this is just something about maybe it's the theme, but maybe it's also the three-dimensional way of doing the puzzle.
I think the drafting helps too. The cards.
I also like scoring because all the terrain is worth different VP too. So like mountains are worth certain. Like if you get a certain stack of that, certain trees are worth a certain VP.
Rivers.
Yeah, and the rivers. It's just kind of a delightful, relaxing type. What they call cozy game.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed this one. Probably around 7.5 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna sit with it about the same. Abstracts for me are gonna be hard to get above like an 8, just because they're not my first pick for a theme, or for a mechanic, excuse me. But that being said, this is really solid. One of those.
This is at a board game cafe. You can teach this one like in 2 minutes, and you're playing.
Yeah, I'll never say no to playing it. Absolutely. Next up is going to be Ironwood from Mind Clash Games. It is one of their newer series. They're trying to go a little bit lighter in the mechanics and the weight of the games for a certain part of their series. So this is the first one. It's a 2-player game, 1 or 2-player game. You can play it solo. I was delighted to find out, because I thought I remembered from the game found that you could only play one of the factions if you were playing solo. But the rules that I did get, I don't know if they updated it. I don't really keep close attention to GameFound updates, sorry. You can play on either side now, which is great. But it is, at its core, a 2-player area control game. It's based off of, it's a hand management. One of the factions plays the Woodbots, and they are trying to swarm in and take over or really kick the Ironbots out of the forest. I believe.
Core game, yeah.
Yep. And then the Ironbot is trying to expand outwards and industrialize the forest. It kind of feels like Defenders of the Wild now that I kind of say.
Yeah, it was funny. We were talking about like how like the theme of the game is hilarious. I don't mind the theme of the game, but it could have easily been elves and dwarves or whatever. Like it's just.
In fact, the Woodbots feel very elvish.
They attack like elves, and the other ones like are mining and all this stuff. So it's like it was like we're like, hey, you could have gone either way with the theme.
Art is absolutely gorgeous on it. I did get the promo that has some of the hollow cards too, which are completely unnecessary but beautiful. Components are great on it. It's a really, really good game. 2-player games for me, they're a weird place in my collection, because
I play way more of them than
you play. Yeah. I don't play them very often, but this one's gonna stick with me for a long time. And the fact that I can play it solo is great.
I will say it's also incredibly well balanced. Like, we played it and it was a neck and neck. It's like there's been a few 2-player games this year where like I've really been like, wow, and the 2 of them are not newer games, but new to me. But like this, Pagan, if you like Pagan, what was the one I just played?
We just played something else recently, 2-player, that was neck and neck.
I know I played one from Capstone. The Fire and Stone was neck and neck.
Yep.
So like that kind of like you like a nail biter where it's like it wasn't sure who was going to win, and if I hadn't, and I think I won the game we played. But like, if I hadn't won, you would have won.
Hyperion is the one we played recently.
And it's like, you would have won immediately after me if I hadn't gotten that victory in that turn.
Yeah,
so like,
he nudged me out.
Yeah.
He knew what he was doing.
But like that's winning. That's when I really like a 2-player game. Again, I love the art. I agree with you. Love the play style of the game. Love the Kickstarter version of it's gorgeous.
I think that's just the version of it.
Oh really?
I don't think that there's 2 versions.
Oh, fantastic, man.
It's Mind Clash.
Yeah, that's true.
They're kind of like chip theory.
I'm an 8 out of 10 on this one. I'm pretty convinced that I would revisit this anytime.
Yeah, that's gonna come to PAX, so
cool.
You'll get to. Yeah, I'm gonna set it about an 8 out of 10 on it right now too. Solo was quite enjoyable, played really smoothly, which helps.
So I already hinted at this game earlier on the list. It's in addition to Bardwood Grove, probably one of my top contenders for Game of the Year for me, anyways. And this is Sankore by Osprey Games. This is a Lacerda-like game, I would say.
Yeah.
Where
components.
Well, then also Tool did the art on the game, so it's also very in that.
That's why
you'll look at it, you go like, oh, this looks like this is who's that Eagle Griffin that does those. Looks like their production value. So great. Osprey Games did a great job with the production. The base copy of this game is gorgeous, very bright, not a lot of beige for your Euro gamers. Very pretty game. It essentially is we're all like little parts of the major university. Was it Mansa Munsa? Sorry, I'm probably butchering that. But we're all small parts of the university of making up the whole and building it up, making it as powerful as that university became. And while you're doing this, you're interacting with basically 4 large mini games. in the board related to the subjects at the university. On its face, like that seems like pretty typical Euro game, but what I really love is the interactions of these little wooden books throughout the game and how they drive so many of the actions throughout the game, but also this end game scoring is entirely driven by this library.
Like when people hoard some of the books that other people need.
Well, Sean ended up winning, so I don't know what you're talking about.
That's true. He did sneak that one out.
So as you're playing the game, you're also trying to keep track of like what prestige, because your prestige points that you have aren't don't have a value.
Yeah.
They don't have a value locked into them. So as I'm gathering these, like, hey, I have a lot of points in law or mathematics, but we're not sure yet how those are going to score out at the end of the game.
Yeah, I have 5 mathematics, but they could be worth 1 point at the end or 4 points at the end.
Or 6.
Or 6, yeah.
If you, that's probably impossible, but maybe you can try. Maybe you can go for it. But you don't know. So at the end of the game, it becomes a real nail biter. Like I've committed to these points. Yep. What are they going to be worth at the end of the game? And everyone else is going, if I add one more to this scoring column for math, it's going to throw off Scott's Law strategy or whatever. So like I love that element of the game. It flows really well. I'm kind of very passionate about it. So.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. I played it once so far. Sean and Scott both told me it's like, we didn't dabble in the astronomy route too much last time. So of course that's what I hyper focused on. Did pretty well. Did not win. Did not come in second. We were playing with 3, so I guess I didn't really do that well. But no, I think the scores were close. But really, really solid game. It's got as Scott was saying, it's got the unique way to change up the scoring mechanics, which I really like. That's something that I think I was first introduced to big time with Kelte, where you've got the different win conditions and then you can weight them accordingly. So I've really fallen in love with that type of thing because you can at the last minute just kind of throw a wrench in them.
And I really like the theming on this game where as we're all investing in like mathematics and more students are enrolling in that program, the school's mathematics department becomes stronger. So when I take a mathematics action in the game, it's my expertise plus the university's expertise. So if people are doing that, other people's successes are contributing to how well your students will do in this. Yeah. And I love that in the theming.
Yeah, it's a really good way to showcase that education really does rise up an entire civilization.
Yeah, so I adore this game. Gorgeous. Well worth the pickup if you're into those. Probably like 3 to 4 plus weight games. For me, my score right now is probably 9.5 out of 10. I absolutely adore this game. It may change upon additional plays. I played it solo. I played it 2 and 3 player.
I played it once, just 3 player right now. I think I'm going to be sitting at about an 8.5 to 9 on it. Really, really good game. I could see it growing more. I just don't think I experienced enough of it to give it a solid number, though. So take that with a grain of salt.
Fair enough. But highly recommend checking that one out. I grabbed it from Mini Market. It was a pretty good price. So
yeah. Next up on the list is going to be a new game from Ivy Studios. It's going to be Fractured Sky, a game that I was convinced that I was not going to own because the Kickstarter for it came out, and our Game Found, or whichever one it was, and I looked at it, I'm like, it's got blind bidding. I'm not a huge bidding person, whatever. And then at Level Up, the first Level Up, last summer, I sat down to play it, and then I went online and bought the entire thing.
Yeah.
Except for the neoprene map. I did not buy the neoprene map because the designer told me that I didn't really need it. And I agree. I think the cardboard was
you don't need it. It's not necessary. They're never really necessary, but try telling that.
No, so it is a blind bidding game, but it's got the unique mechanic of it's an area control with blind bidding. One of my favorite things about it is that the 1 token and the 10 token both have the exact same border. So when you put them out underneath your ship, it's a bluffing too, because it's like, did I just go full in there, or am I just kind of like trying to play you on? Really, really good game. We've played this 4 or 5 times now, and it holds up every time.
Well, why it holds up is nobody ever becomes like a king.
No runaway. Yeah.
Well, because you can't. Yeah, everyone has the same betting strength every round. You might have better resources or other things you gain from previous rounds, and you're able to build, and you can get better strength as a player. But like overall, every round we come back into it, we all have the same limit of 10. In fact,
limit of 10 across the entire board.
Right. And you have to spend that accordingly, because if you overspend, that actually hurts you in the resolution round.
Oh, I will note, Dan exploited that a few times.
Yeah.
I think once accidentally, but it actually worked for him.
Yeah.
So I guess there is a strategy to that.
Right.
Not my strategy. Really good game. It's at a 9 out of 10 for me right now. I do have the second highest tier of it. I didn't get the pre-painted ships. Shut up.
I'm actually fine with them not being painted.
Yeah. That's what he said last time we played.
Just to bother him. But for me, it's my to date, anyways, it's my favorite IV Studios game. I think they do a really good job with a lot of deception things in their games. But this one, I think, is just it clicks and moves along. And
got the expansion coming soon too.
Yeah, doesn't hurt that I win it a lot too. So that helps.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I like it in spite of that.
Yeah, big fan. This game is one that I actually late pledged myself right in the summer, just before it was about to ship, because I'd heard things about it. It was being called
back and forth on this for like 2 months.
Yeah, I was like back and forth. Then I finally, like, one night I was late enough where I was like, it's only $45. And I
famous last words in our households.
Yeah. So I grabbed this. This is Defenders of the Wild, and it is a Spirit Island type game, crisis management. And odd thing is and we've said this on the channel before, we are in the minority here. I really don't care that much for Spirit Island. Mm-hmm. I think I appreciate the game.
Yeah.
But it's just never
clicked with
us. Yeah. And I get why people like it.
No.
There's just certain elements of the game I don't like.
Cascading failure is a big thing for me.
And I can handle it because I like Uprising and other games that have cascading failure. Just something about it in Spirit Island. It feels so sudden.
Yeah.
In Spirit Island. Anyways, it was related to that, and that was one of the things that made me cautious. But I love the art of the game, and I liked the theme of kind of
like the woodland creatures.
The woodland creatures theme against these machines that they tried to build to help them, but now that are like in a Terminator-esque way in a fantasy world, they've turned against them. And I really like that every player is asymmetrical, not unlike Spirit Island. But I liked how, while the machines are powerful, even at the lower levels of the game, we haven't played at the highest challenges. They're because they're machines, their behaviors are predictable. Mm-hmm. So while they are powerful and it's hard to chase them, you relatively know what they're going to do, and you can plan according to that. You can't share information like Spirit Island. You have to do limited information. But overall,
we ended up winning that time. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I enjoy this one. It's very pretty. It's faster than Spirit Island as far as a teach as well. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit lighter. So I'm a big fan of this one. I haven't rated it yet. I want to play it a bit more solo. But it's very pretty. I think for the price point, too, it's well worth it. And the retail copy of that game, you don't need any other bits and bobs. It's a perfectly good game out of the box.
I got rocket launchers in it, so I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna withhold a number on it, too. We need to play it more. Mm-hmm. Great game, though. Really enjoyed it. Next up on the list is, surprise, surprise, another space-themed game. So we've got Shackleton Base by Sorry We Are French, which I think is my new favorite board game company name of all time. It also explains a little bit of the rulebook. Not as bad as we've had, but there's a few sentences that I'm like, okay. So this is, it was described in a post that I saw as a mix between On Mars, From the Moon, and one other that I don't remember, but those first two games are two of my favorite games. So I had to get it. So I went online. It was not available in the United States, so I ordered it from England. Don't judge me. You've done it. Actually, I don't think you have actually bought from overseas. I think that's a shame I share a little.
Possible, but I have to,
Yeah. But anyways, so I picked it up, and it came in, and so first of all, the components are gorgeous on it. I really like the fact that on the pieces that get the most use, they use like the double thickness cardboard. So it's like a really nice solid piece. It's not just the normal cardboard without going up to like the wooden meeple level, which I would have liked, but the other thing I really like about it is that it's modular, but it's modular in a I don't have to decide way. There are something like 8 different modules you can play, and before each game you shuffle up the sheets and you deal out 3, and those are the 3 you play with, and you always just play with 3. So you're never going to be overwhelmed by the different choices of all. Yeah, it just whelms, exactly. So I broke it out the other night solo for the first time, because we kind of have an unwritten rule at our table that we like, if it can be played solo and it's a bigger game, we like to play it solo before we try to teach it to anyone else.
Right.
So I was like, let me get a play of this, then I'll bring it over on Friday. I've ended up playing it 3 times this week when it was on my table. It sets up quick. It resets really quickly. And the automa is just very, very elegant. You flip a card over, you match it up to the previous card it played. It tells you what corporation they're targeting, so which of the modules, what their primary action is, and then it's got a little key on it that lets you make some decisions. Like, so based off of if you've got 2 different choices, it helps you guide you what choice it makes. But other than that, it's really, really quick. Got stomped the first time I played. Like, it was something embarrassing, like 150 to 54 or something. It lapped me twice. Second time I lost, but I only lost by like 5 points, and the third time I ended up winning. I've only played with the first 3 modules so far, which is the moon mining, Mars something, and some sign. I don't remember the names of them. I apologize. Really, really good game though. Climbed very quickly on my top 10 list for overall time. Love the theme, love the modularity. It really does live up to the fact that it is part from the moon and part on Mars. Really good game. Can't wait to get it to the table to show it to more people. Probably not coming to PAX because it is big and it's a table hog.
Nice.
But we'll definitely get it to the table and play. Really good game. Glad I picked it up. Solo, I'm just going to specify solo, it's a 9 out of 10 for me.
Oh, wow.
Need to see it multiplayer before I will expand on that. But no, it's just, I don't sit down and play a game just 3 times in a row, especially a bigger game.
Yeah.
Because those are 90-minute plays, so.
So this is one that I grabbed very last minute. I'd heard good things about it, and I also heard that like the mechanics were just, I would say, unusual or unique, which is very rare in the hobby. When someone's like, oh, I haven't done anything like that. And that is Harrow County. Harrow County is by Off the Page Games, I believe, and based off of the Harrow County graphic novel series. So it's a horror-themed game, so it's dark, but the play is not really very dark. It's more of a 1 to 4 player abstract game, 4 player with an expansion. Where
interesting.
You're both playing a faction with a asymmetrical goal. So one of you is taking over the heroes of the series, and initially you're playing as the villains. And what's interesting, the rules I really appreciated is you go through each iteration of each rule set of the game till you learn how to play everything. So the first time you just play
one of those.
You play like one phase and you learn this aspect of the game. Now you learn the second aspect, and by the end of it, you're like, okay, I understand how everything works now. The copy I've got is, I think, one of the deluxeified versions, but I love the components. I know, shock. But there's so many things that are very interesting. Like the combat is resolved through a literal dice tower that's built into the box of the board game.
Yeah.
And you drop these cubes, and it's not like a straight dice tower where they always are going to drop out. There are little shelves within the dice tower that they are made to kind of catch cubes until other ones will knock them off on later turns. So as combat is being resolved, you never quite know. Like, just because I'm dropping in 3 to resolve, it doesn't mean 3 are going to come out.
I haven't played this specific game, but I have another one, Stygian Society, that I picked up at PAX our first year.
Yeah. Similar idea.
And it's got the same tower, and I like it because you can never, like, from turn to turn, you're like, the second turn, you're like, oh no, I've got these cubes in there. By like 4 turns, you're like, I have no idea what is in there anymore.
Well, it's kind of like this fun thing that in like a Too Many Bones-esque way, where like you can get kind of a success from earlier failures in the game.
Yeah.
Where by dropping them in, like maybe I won't get it, or maybe you're finally attacking me and you're all excited because you're dropping in a bunch of cubes, but all you do is knock out all of my cubes, and I end up winning the combat when you attacked me.
Right.
Otherwise, I really just love the theming of the factions, how those powers work. It feels very thematic, and I love the mason jar drafting mechanic in the game as well, and how that works. Everything's very, for a game about an unusual town with all this like witch history and creepy characters. The game itself is so weird; it all just fits together in a nice package. I really enjoyed this one. I've been reading the graphic novel series as well. Cool. Haven't played at higher player counts, but as a 2-player and solo game right now, I'm about 8-5 right now in the game. Really enjoy it. I like to see because I have the Fairy Folk expansion, and I haven't really got to play with the Witch much yet because that's a 3-player game.
Cool. Yeah, I look forward to playing that one. Haven't gotten it to the table yet, but Sounds good. I like that mechanic, so I'm excited to try it.
Yeah, I played it a bunch this fall, but that's Harrow County.
Next up is going to be a new game that I had kickstarted a couple years ago now. Finally came in this past year. Divinus by Lucky Duck Games. So we had played its spiritual predecessor, Destinies.
Yeah.
Yep. A few years ago. And had mixed feelings on that one because it started off really strong. The intermediary stories were okay, and then the last story was really strong. So we were like,
I think our reaction to Destinies, and maybe my reaction would be to this one as well, is it needed to be played at lower player counts. Like Destinies was a 1 to 3 player. You should play it as a solo game. If you play it as a solo game, I think you'll love Destinies. And this one we played Divinus. We played as a 3 player. I'm like, maybe you should just play 2 players.
Maybe, yeah. So my only real complaints that I have, well, not my only real complaints, but my biggest complaints that I have about it is the structure of how the play works. There was a lot of times that it would stop us in the middle of play in order to add rules to the rulebook and mature the game. And it is a legacy game, so I was fully expecting that. I love my legacy games. But if you're going to add a lot of rules to it, do it before or after a session. Don't do it in the middle of a session. It kills the momentum of the gameplay. The gameplay itself I really liked. It was a tile placement game, and you're trying to collect various symbols and make...
build a tableau.
Build your tableau. Build a map.
Right.
It was very clever. The way that the gods were fighting, I think, was really good. I think it really, really suffered from the... twofold. One, the stopping the game to add rules to the game. And 2, the other thing I didn't like is that it would have us add these stickers to the tiles, and then the very next session we were removing those stickers. So I feel like the legacy aspects of it were not very elegantly designed into the game. And a big miss for me, because I think that it could have done it very easily, especially because it is an app-driven game, is there's no solo mode on it.
Right.
I probably would have played it solo just fine because I have more of a tolerance for interrupted momentum in a solo game because I can just stand up and walk away from the table and go do some other things and then come back to it with a fresh mind. I don't need to finish a session in a single sitting. Don't really do that.
Or you can just read the theming of the rule change to yourself. Like, oh, okay, cool. I get it. But like this would like stop us in our dead in its tracks for like 7 minutes as we're adding stickers to the board. During it, like, not after your point, not after we played a round or a game for an hour. And we're like, okay, cool, we get some rewards for playing that round.
Yeah.
I was like, no, stop in the middle of the game, make adjustments.
The adding stickers to the dice was really cool. I like how that modified it. There was a lot of good things to this game. I think it just got held back by some clunky implementation of the legacy elements.
Yeah.
So unfortunately for me, this one's sitting at about a 6. And it's just the implementation. I think it's got a solid core. It just doesn't shine through.
Yeah, I think when we talked about it when I think we scored it, I was at a 6 out of 10 as well. My thing is, like, I'd rather play, like, if I want something in that feeling of like a My Island or something like that, where it's like, I want to do a tile
day over this.
Well, yeah, and it's the same thing. There's stickers and there's tile, not drafting as much, I guess, but there's But still, if I want that kind of feeling, I'm going to play like a light legacy like that.
Agreed. So, miss for us this year, but it's bound to happen.
Yeah. So this next one on the list is a game that I probably played more than anything else that I've played on this list from 2024. Any of the games we talked about today. Absolutely adore this game. It is a game by Stan Kronowski and by Half a Kingdom Games, and that is Nova Roma. It is a really fun worker placement game with a kind of Targi-esque thing where it's a grid placement of your workers to influence their strength. Everyone going around the board, depending on where you play them, is what 2 actions you get to take. So it's a 4x4 grid. There are 8 different actions. Depending where you place your worker, you'll get to take 2 of those actions. So you're blocking each other out in that way. And as on this grid, if you can get a row or column of your workers, it adds to the strength of the action you're taking. Other than that, it's a playground game where you are in Rome with 8 little mini games throughout what you're doing.
You're building Rome in the upper right-hand corner.
Right.
Trade routes in the upper left.
You are doing chariot racing. There is bringing craftsmen into your household. You are building out your farms, your fields, all sorts of stuff. There's just a ton of different little mini game activities that you're doing for the game. They all feed off of each other, depending on what 2 actions you take. I adore this game from a solo. Actually, I played it in every player count. I played solo, 2-player, 3-player, 4-player. It sings at every player count. I just really enjoy it. My only dings against it is sometimes it's not very thematic.
That's fair.
They're fun mini games, but like nothing you're doing is like, even the chariot racing is just it's a
track.
It's a track.
Three tracks.
You're just moving forward on them.
Yeah.
So it's really just a well designed Euro with a theme that's painted on. It's gorgeous. Painted on by the Miko. Did the art on this one. But I really enjoy it. So for me, it is a solid 8 out of 10.
Yeah, so this one, the only real ding that I have against it is that I can't play it very often because I get stomped on because Scott has played it 50, 60 times.
Yeah, I played a lot. It's really good.
No, really good game. I agree with all the points that you just brought up. It's a fun playground to play in. Even when it's one of those games that even when you're losing, you're having fun with it, which is really good. So solid game. Probably about an 8 out of 10 as well.
I do love that. One thing on this one is the 2-player variant with adding these little centurions to the game.
Yep.
Really, I wish more games had that element of being like, I get to, in a 2-player, rather than having an AI running, I get to decide what to block off at the end of my turn with the other player.
That's cool. So next up on the list is the newest from Garfield Games by Shem Phillips. It's going to be Inventors of the South Tigris. So Scott picked up the North Sea and the West Kingdom trilogies, and I jumped in with the South Tigris trilogy. So I got Wayfarers and Scholars, and now Inventors just coming out this year. Inventors? Yeah, Inventors. I keep getting it mixed up with
Inventions.
Lacerda with Inventions. Both great games. Both play very similarly, actually. So in Inventors, they're all dice worker placement games, and you are advancing from your generic white dice up into the various different colors, which represent the different temples in the South Tigris region. So it's another one that's kind of playing off the idea of like the academies and learning. Mm-hmm. And what you're doing is you are basically drafting these inventions, and then you are developing them and building them, and then eventually putting them out into the world. And a cool aspect I like about it is that even when they're out in the world, you can still play on them by doing tests of them, and it does still get you some rewards. I've only played this one solo, so I'm not going to go too far into it. We really have to table, actually, Scholars still, we have to table multiplayer. I've played it multiplayer at one of the level ups.
Yeah.
I like this series a lot. It's probably as a full trilogy, it's my favorite trilogy. But I think Raiders is always going to stay on top in terms of the single game.
Yeah, it's the most innovative to the hobby.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to give this one a number just yet. I don't think it's fair. I've only played it solo once. But I love the dice worker theme, and I really like the idea of the inventions getting built out, and I think it works really well. So I'm excited to see it multiplayer.
Great. Next on the list is from Seacow Games. That's Flock Together. This is a cooperative game where you're playing these chickens defending this farm. And
sentence you just said.
Yeah. And they're all got like silly names like Wyatt Chirp, and you're just all these brave chickens as you're leveling them up. The components for this game are astounding. Like everything is looks great. You have all these little mini spiral bound character notebooks that you level, so it's easy to just level up your character.
I love that.
As you go throughout it. It's solid. It's a little lighter than I was expecting it to be when I first backed it. So it's more probably for my kids at this point, or as a family game. But enjoyed it okay. But honestly, for me, it's probably at a 6 out of 10 right now. It's gorgeous, great components, fun, but it's the decision space was maybe not there for what I was looking for. But good family game. Can recommend.
Nice. So next up for me is going to be Night by, I really apologize for this. I got it off to the side here.
Radislav
Ignatow. I'm sure that I pronounced that wrong. I apologize. So this is a print and play flip and write or draft and write game. No, flip and write is right. Verb and verb. I know you love that term. That I picked up off of I late funded this one, and it came in. I printed them all out. I laminated them and everything so I can multiplay it easily. And I really, really enjoy this game. It was called like a spiritual successor to Hadrian's Wall, which is why I backed it. Much more medieval themed. There's different scenarios you can play through, which really change up how the game works. Really, really solid. I actually went ahead and I got the cards themselves printed professionally on PVC cards, which elevates the experience a bit. Not that you're shuffling them too much, but it adds a lot to it. Really, really solid game. I actually was just moving the components out of the way because they were just sitting back here in the way for our filming. So I moved them out of the way. I was like, I really got to play that again.
Yeah.
Solid game. Very much enjoy it. And inexpensive too off their site. So
nice. Up next, I've got from Grand Gamers Guild, Tir Na Nog, which I had the opportunity to play a number of times now. It is a worker placement, a drafting, tableau building game. Irish theme, if you can't tell with Tir Na Nog as the name. And you're drafting different kind of fae characters, creatures, areas, and everyone has a shared group of rows of different scoring conditions. So like there's a top, middle, and bottom that everyone gets the same version of, and then you're all drafting from the same area. But the way the game works is you take workers and you place them between certain cards in the drafting area, and we do that in turn order until we go back around and we draft cards from that area that you had workers that were touching that card.
Got it.
And you take those and then you get to add them to your tableau, and you score them based on certain orders. Like sometimes it'll be like you'll score the value of every card to the right of the first cards. You're as long as it's a lower value, so you're trying to like start high and then slowly work your way down to get the most points from it. And everyone's doing that. So pretty light game. This is a warm-up, cool-down game. I enjoyed it. Solid 6.5 out of 10. The art is gorgeous. It's very pretty. I like the meeples. Everyone has their own little Irish-themed set of 3 meeples for the drafting phase. Very fun, light game. Easy to teach. Not much more honestly to say about it other than that.
Fair enough. I've not tabled it yet. Look forward to doing so and seeing how it is. So next up for me was a game that I was really excited about off of Game Found is Flame and Fang by Escape Velocity Games. So dragon themed game. I know, shocking. I was excited for it. It's got some really great little dragon meeples. It's a deck. It's not a deck building game. It's a deck sculpting game, I think I would call it, because every time you buy a card to put into your deck, you have to swap out a card of that same type. So you're never expanding your deck. You're just making it a bit better.
Hand management, hand manipulation.
Yeah. It's a campaign game. It's supposed to play overall in about like 30 or 40 hours, which is one of the things that appealed to me. I got it. I played it solo. It was good. We played it multiplayer. It played almost exactly the same. It's too light for me. It's extremely light. Like there's no meat on the bones, to excuse the pun in terms of this, but like you can attack, you can eat, or you can scout, I think are the ones. I did not use the right terms there. I apologize. From the game itself, but so there's a little bit of decision space in there, which I found interesting, but overall it just there wasn't enough to the game to kind of catch me. This is one of my biggest disappointments of the year, honestly. Not that it's a bad game, it's just that I was so hyped about it and then it fell flat for me.
Yeah, that happens where it's like you wanted it to be something that it ends up not being, and it doesn't mean that you can. It's not always fair to hold it against the game.
Yeah, I think the game is well designed. It's just it's a well designed like 2.4 weight game, and that's just not my weight class. That's not the games that I really enjoy digging into. Either it needs to be much lower than that so I can just have like brainless fun, or it needs to be higher than that so I can get some thought into it. So it's in that weird range. Right. I'm sitting at about a 5 or 6 out of 10 on this one because it really missed its mark for me. But I do want to emphasize that's not really. I don't really hold that against the game itself. It just was not for me.
Yeah, I'm not scoring it up myself either. I did not. There was not a lot that like clicked with me with it, and in a year of a lot of games that I was like thrilled with, it just was one I don't really have a strong feeling about.
Yeah.
Up next, we've got Shipwrights, another Garfield game. This is from Shem Phillips, and it is actually a redo of the original Shipwrights. So it's part of the North Sea trilogy, but he wanted to revisit it because he wanted to make kind of like
first one, right?
One of his first games, and it was very light, kind of like Explorers, very light, but it wanted to just make it a little bit more up with the rest of the brand, where he's really taken it with those games. I really enjoy it. I've played it solo a lot, and I've played it also 2 and 3 player. It is a drafting game, so a very Viking theme area where drafting for cards and using those cards to build out your ships that'll later be used in the future games of raiding and exploring. in that trilogy. I kind of get frustrated with the game a little bit as a solo because it's like almost impossible. I think I've won one game out of however many, like 10 or 20 games.
Won't get good.
It's tough. It's because it's one of those games that's very lean, like the White Castle, where it's a lean space of like, can you actually overcome the villain? So it's in some ways beat your own score, but you do have to beat the AI. So that's, I do like having that where it's not just straight beat your own score. Right. I think I do prefer it in that way as a multiplayer because it's a little bit more achievable to win, but really fun. Not my favorite game in the series, but I would say it's still a good 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah, so I haven't played this one yet. I just wanted to note
you played
that
this one.
Did I play Shipwrights?
Yeah, you played Shipwrights, yeah. We played it with Sean.
I don't recall playing this game, so I'm going to reserve a number on this. I just wanted to note that Shem Phillips is really good at, like we've mentioned before, the games don't always feel their themes. Mm-hmm. I think all three of the trilogies we've played, like I can feel the themes in all of the games. And I do remember this one now.
Yeah.
It was after a very long week, so I was very tired. Sorry, Shem.
Yeah, no, it's a solid game. It'll definitely be staying in my collection. I enjoy it.
So next up on the list is a new Uwe Rosenberg with Tito Lorenz, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Black Forest. So this one, you've played it actually a couple more times than I have at this point. You played with Sean a few times, but I played it for the first time, and it's a really, really solid game. So it takes the same mechanic from Glass Road.
Glass Road, yeah.
Yeah, where you have auto production, where basically anytime you move your production tokens off the lowest level, it means your society has has enough raw resources that they automatically make the thing. In this case, there was glass on one side and
commodities and provisions.
Provisions
versus Glass Road was brick and glass.
Right. So it's got the wheels that just auto produce, which I thought was really clever. Could have used Sean not rushing the end game on us, which is kind of a theme in two of the games we played recently. Yeah. Yep. If he watched our videos, then he would feel shame right now, but I don't think he does.
No.
Anyways, really, really cool game. So it's got a bit of a rondel going on. It's kind of like a multi-rondel on the board itself, because you can move within the village or you can move between villages around there.
Yeah,
but you can never take the same action twice.
Right, you always have to move, whether it's moving in the village you're moving in or move to another village to do another action.
And then you get to take the actions of the two spaces you're next to. So pretty classic in terms of rondel there.
But I like that you can change the rondels over the course of the game.
It's all modular.
One of the actions is you can literally swap out two of the
cards or whatever they are, tokens.
Mm-hmm.
Solid game. I really, really liked it. I'm going to say that right now I'm at about a 7.5 out of 10 on it. Just clarifying that I only have played it once, so that's subject to change a little bit.
That's more or less where I'm at right now, too. I think it might go a little higher because that's also where I have Glass Road rated, and I like Glass Road. I like the bluffing mechanic in Glass Road, but I think I enjoyed the rondel here a bit more because basically that's all you lose. You don't have the card thing from, if you like that. Glass Road is very different in that way. I think that's what probably Tito Lorenz brought to the game, was that new...
The rondel piece.
The rondel piece, yeah.
Nice.
Otherwise, you're buying buildings like Glass Road and building out your farm area. But really fun.
I forgot about the whole tableau build in front of you.
Yeah, it's fun.
I love tableau builds. So
and that feels also very Uwe Rosenberg. The whole
very much
building up, taking forests down, putting down buildings.
I did not win this game.
A lot of fun though. Looking forward to more plays of it.
Same.
Next game is a small game from Portal Dragon. This is actually oddly enough, it was a small add-on to another campaign, I think for Collab.
Oh yeah.
But I only backed just to get the Palm Laboratory copy here that came along with Collab. It was basically a sequel or a new version of Palm Island.
Because your PVC cards from Palm Island are raggedy at this point.
I actually no longer have Palm Island, actually. So I replaced it with Palm Laboratory, which, if you like Palm Island, it's I think a slightly better version of it. It is, there are some more fun expansions and ways to score and to win the game in Palm Laboratory. And it's a little sillier. It's themed to kind of a
mad scientist.
Like mad scientist, like the components are like brains and potions, and I forgot the third thing is. It's escaping me. But yeah, it's the same idea if you played Palm Island, where you're spending the resources to upgrade the cards in your hand by reorienting them, flipping them over, turning them to hit a certain value. When I like this one though, there's a second timer going on the game that is like it's a power thing, like you can like overcharge, like explode the lab. So you have to be careful. You have to be able to afford to keep that from not overloading, as well as meet the win condition before the end of the game.
Oh, cool.
So it's just a little bit more going on than Palm Island. If you can find a copy of it, recommend it. I don't know if you can. I just was able to get one. Specifically, just was like, I'll pledge my $1, and then the whatever it was, $10 or $15 for the tin copy of Palm Laboratory.
Oh, it came in a tin, not even.
Yeah, it's all fancy, but I really appreciate it. I thought it was a fun game. I haven't seen a lot of people talking about it, but I like travel games for my job when I can bring them along with me. So.
Next up on the list is the newest title from Scott Alms. It is going to be Conservas. So this is a bag building and bag draining kind of game. It's all about conservation in fishing in a Spanish village, right?
I believe so.
Anyways, but it's another one of those games that has multiple kind of scenarios you play through, and it's each month of the calendar that you're going through. And you start off with a certain number of different types of fish in your bag, as well as just water tokens. And you have to get a fleet of fishing boats, and you go out and you're fishing for them. And any fish that you keep, you're actually keeping out of your bag.
So you
can them, but you flip the token over, and it's got a little tuna can tab on it, which is great. But it's you can't drain too many of the fish out of it, because the way that you build your bag is if you've let go pairs or multiples of a certain type, then they spawn new ones into the open sea. So that's how you build it up. And the win conditions is twofold. It's you have to have a certain number of each of the type of fish in the bag at the end of the game, and you have to have made enough money. So you can't just be like, I'm just going to let them all go.
So Conservas is to conservation.
So I really, really like this one. I'm terrible at it. Absolutely terrible. It took me 6 tries to beat January. 6.
Yeah, I think I'm in August now.
Yeah,
I haven't played it all the way through yet, but I've been really enjoying it. Yeah. Excellent. And this might seem like past me would think this is like sacrilege. I like this better than Warp's Edge. There was one of his other one.
Oh,
and that's another great bag build from Scott Holmes. But something about the maintenance of not overdrawing from the bag and like knowing when to make the decision, be like, I need to cash, I need money, because you also need money because you have to pay for your ships and all these other things. So like there are ongoing concerns. I love Warp's Edge, but I really liked this one.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I have to play them both again and let you know.
Yeah, so I'm sitting at it right now. 8 out of 10 for me on Conservas.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be about an 8 out of 10 as well. A solid game. I did play a lot of it, mostly because I was frustrated I couldn't win. But then I did. Great game.
Going back to the water, looking at another game. This is We're Sinking. It is a bluffing game, Prisoner's Dilemma game that I backed on, I think, Kickstarter. And this is a game where you're all pirates on a sinking ship. And as the ship is going down, you are trying to bail out water and fight off a monster that's trying to get on. Maybe a kraken. I think there's like various monsters in the game. So you're trying to fire cannons, keep other things. It reminded me like of Red November. It was a cooperative game years ago that was like you're trying to keep a ship going. The difference is this one's semi-cooperative. While you want to live as long as you can, one of the things you can also do is bluff. Say, hey, I'm going to go help us. I'm going to help man the cannons, or I'm going to help go bail out water. But really, you go down below to the treasure area and steal some money for yourself. So at the end of the game, you're trying to see whoever has the most treasure or most points wins the end of the game. Big way to get points is treasure. So some people will just betray you. And
by some people, you
mean... My brother Shade.
Yeah.
But a lot of fun if you like that kind of sillier game. It's very light. I enjoyed it. I would want to play it with think larger player counts, because it was pretty predictable to know that he was going to betray us quite often. Although the funny thing about, I will say, the game was the game itself was just fun. My other brother and I were just firing cannons at this kraken and killing and that was just, we were having a good time just doing that, even though we lost horribly. Fun game. Light, like 2 out of 5 for weight. So for me, for the game right now, it's like a 7 out of 10. I could play it if people wanted to play it. Not something I'm rushing to get to the table.
I haven't played this one yet. I'll be honest. Prisoner's Dilemma is going to be a hard sell for me, but I think Scott's done a pretty good job of selling it to me, so I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
I think that's like a fun theme.
I think that the other activities are just fun, so that helps with the game. So I definitely recommend if you get a chance to play it, checking it out.
Awesome. Next up on this list is a brand spanking new game. Never seen. No, I'm kidding. It's a reprint, so this is a little bit of a cheat on the list, but we have really fallen in love with it. It's Teotihuacan. You just told me the name of the company.
Board and Dice did the new Deluxe Master copy of this.
We've been kind of we were latecomers even to like Zolkin a few years ago. I bought it for the mechanic and then found out we loved the game, and we've been stalling on this one because we knew the deluxe one was coming out and one of us would cave, and Scott caved this time. Fantastic game. It's just such a solid game. You've got the rondel going on, dice workers again doing it. The difference is with this one is you're actually ticking up and making them more powerful, which I think is interesting, and instead of spending the pips as resources.
Right.
I mean, we could go on and we probably will do a full video on this one. Just played it again Friday night. It is just such a good game.
And for a game of its weight, what I love about Teotihuacan is it's an easy teach, relatively speaking,
so easy
for that weight. It's a 4 out of 5.
In our world, so easy.
Right, we do play a good amount of heavier games, but still, it's not like a daunting, and everything's pretty. And I don't want to spend too much on the game because the game's been out for years, but but it's just such a delight. And I think what I'll comment on is the Board and Dice did such a great job with the Deluxe Master set. Everything feels really great. The resources are substantial. The neoprene mat feels, I wouldn't say necessary, but it feels valuable just because there's a lot of tiles. And if you had a cardboard copy of it, all those wooden tiles are going to really beat up that cardboard over time. So I think it is worthwhile here. Some of the little wooden bits are a little too small for my liking, but
the little tracker bits.
Yeah, some of the trackers are a little too small. But other than that, it's gorgeous production value.
Yeah, solid game. We could rave about it. We will rave about it in another video. I'm sitting at I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm sitting at 9 out of 10 out of it right now. It is so good. I know you people out there are gonna tell us, it's been a 9 out of 10 for 10 years now, but
not 10 years.
We got to it.
I think it's like 7 years old now.
Yeah, I think it's 2017.
Yeah, 2017, 2018. But absolutely love it. I'm in the same range right now. It's probably gonna go up for me. Especially now that I have the deluxe copy. So we're back to the water again with a
Space and Water, 2024.
So this is a new part of the FateFlip series. I think that's what it's called. Wash Ashore. It's one of my favorite themes in fiction and in gaming is guy stuck on an island by himself.
In case you can't tell, Scott is an introvert.
Yeah. So I love this one. I would say it is technically a game, but it's more of an experience. It is very much a choose your own adventure type story where you have you do collect resources throughout the game, like objects, but usually the objects are like a keyword. So if you've played things like Sleeping Gods, you collect things and you're like, oh, if I have this, when I get to this next story point, I have option A, B, but hey, if I have a knife, I could do this, and I just lose the knife resource.
I like it when it does those things. And the pick your own.
Yeah, it gives you some agency there a little bit, and some open up new things like, last time I didn't have the knife. I wonder what happens when I do the knife. But basically, it's a deck that flips through your hand as you're going through, reorienting them. Sometimes it's like, and now discard, and then there's a core deck that says add card 21 to 29 into your hand now at the back of the hand. So like the deck that you're holding on to, the hand of cards, is just changing throughout the game until you get to an ending. I think there's about 13 or 14 different endings potentially in the game. So this is one I'm absolutely taking with me to PAX on the train, because we take the train from Connecticut, and I'll be able to get through quite a few games of it because it's just flip.
Oh, nice.
But again, less of a game. It's technically a game, but more of a story that you're going through. Adventure. So I highly recommend checking it out.
All right, so next up for me, this one's it's legitimately 2024. So it's the newest box from Unmatched. Slings and Arrows. So we've mentioned it on the channel a few times. We both come from a theatrical background, so a Shakespeare-based box kind of was a must-buy for us.
And I love Unmatched. So
we really like Unmatched too. And I was a little skeptical of it, but then we played it, and it's fantastic.
It's one of the more innovative boxes that they've done in a while too. Like the abilities, like Shakespeare's cards triggering this iambic pentameter thing that he does. The witches have this really cool from Macbeth have this really cool cauldron effect that they can use for extra actions.
Yep.
I didn't love Tatiana. Not Tatiana. What am I thinking of? Titania. Wow.
Titania, yeah.
Titania, not Tatiana. Titania.
I did your theater degree.
Yeah, I know. Didn't love that one. But Hamlet was fun.
Hamlet was fun. So it's to be or not to be, and you're always taking damage. It just depends on how you're taking damage. So his is a ticking time bomb, which fits so well. Yeah. I am just very disappointed in two things. One, there was no Alas Poor Yorick. Yeah. And two, I never got to use the skull in my hand to throw it at somebody's face.
Yeah.
But really, really good addition. One of my favorite boxes.
Yeah, definitely. So if you like Unmatched, I think this is a must grab for the game series. Yeah, we've
rated Unmatched quite a bit. I don't.
I'm not gonna rate.
I can't rate the individual boxes. It's too difficult.
But this is a strong one. From me.
On a scale of 10. No, I'm kidding.
Left this one towards the bottom of the list as we're getting up towards the holiday season. This is Boop the Halls by Smirk and Dagger. This is the third iteration of the Boop series. You had Boop, and now you have Boop the Halls. And you think, how much mileage can they get out of this abstract game? And surprisingly, quite a lot.
At least one more.
Yeah. And I will go this far to say, like, this is the best in the Boop series for me. Like, I really love Boop. It was obviously it was a huge sensation when it came out a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. Boop did really well last year.
You like that one a lot.
I did. It added another little feature to the game. Yep. I think this one is the strongest, though, because it adds a second win condition, or another win condition that it really keeps you on your those cats on their feet as you're climbing a Christmas tree and knocking ornaments off of it. It is very silly, but actually very sound abstract game where you're like, oh god, I gotta make sure I don't let you get my ornament. If you knock it off the tree, you score it, or you pounce one of your cats on top of that ornament, you win. Silly, wonderful game for the holidays for 2 players. Couldn't be happier with it right now. 8 out of 10 for me for an abstract game.
I have never played any of the Boop games.
Missing out. They're excellent. I really love abstract games. But that's definitely worthwhile for if you're looking for a Christmas game. I would hack around. And again, Connecticut publisher.
So next up is going to be a roll and write, draft and write game, actually, that, interestingly enough, I didn't buy.
Yeah, and I had bought it and entirely forgot about it. Like it was either a pre-order or an actual back. I can't remember what it was, but it was. Anyways, it's Clans of Midgard.
Yeah. So this is a Viking-themed draft and write game where we're passing, a hand of cards around and we're drafting the cards out of it. And there's various different conditions on the card that you have to keep track of. So you're trying to put together like the Norse alphabet, which is not the Norse alphabet at all. It is just the alphabet written in a Norse fashion. There's an area control portion of it, which I think is a fantastic addition. There is Valkyries that you're trying to collect. Those are actually symbols on the card. You have clans that you're trying to collect, to muster, and your strongest clan tells you where you're going to place out on the field. In true Viking fashion, deaths are not a bad thing. Well, they can be. It's kind of one or the other, right? Like you either
battle's good. What I like about it is battle's good either way. You're either going to get VP from. Probably more from winning, but you're still going to get some for
unless
dying.
You get that one god.
Yeah.
So there are different gods that you're currying favor from. Yeah. And they'll give you extra abilities. This is a fantastic addition to the whatever and right games. Really, really solid game. We've probably played it. I think I personally have played it like 8 times at this point.
I've played it a lot.
Yeah. You play it. I've come over late sometimes. Yeah. And you guys are wrapping up a session on it. It's so good. It feels very thematic. The little meeples on the map is always a fun time. Really, really solid game. I love my roll and write games, flip and writes, whatever. I think this is going to be a 9 out of 10 for me. This is a really, really solid game.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I'm probably somewhere in that 8.5 range right now. I played it quite a bit. I like teaching it. yeah, I have nothing really bad to say about the game. It's a great. I mean, I also got the deluxe copy of it, but like it's the production value is fantastic, and it's you can knock out 2-3 games of it very fast.
Often we'll play 2 games. Yeah, some have played it more than 8 at this point.
It's all part of that Champions of Midgard kind of universe on that.
Which we have to play that.
Yeah,
we have it.
I have it.
Yep. Thanks, Grant, for that recommendation. That we still have not played.
Yeah, for like almost a year now. Yeah. Up next, we have from Next Dimension Games a hidden movement game, Go Ahead Punk. This is one that I backed. I've always liked hidden movement games, but then some I've played and we've burnt out on. He's burnt out on some of them. So I bought this because I knew we had another friend in our group that likes the genre. It's a 1970s cop movie genre is where you're all playing various police officers, kind of rough and tough police officers chasing down this psychopath that's running around San Francisco.
Yep.
I think it's very funny because it's I believe Next Dimension they are a English board game publisher making a American cop thing, which is I got a kick out of it.
That's funny.
Remind me like a Hot Fuzz or something like that. Where they're, anyways, I really like this game. I've played it a lot at various player counts, and I think it accomplishes the mission of a hidden movement game where it doesn't overstay its welcome. You play this game, it's 60 minutes to 90 minutes. It is one way or the other. You're either going to get him or he's going to get away.
Yeah.
And I like that. It's not this like, oh my God, this tedious like draw down game, and that can happen with these
easily
these games. And while at first it seems like you don't have enough power, like you're only drawing like one card at a time or taking like a little action as the cops, you realize it's very easy to corner him at the end stage, and it always kind of ends up in this climactic chase on the docks at the end. So it feels like a cop movie. And at first I was frustrated playing the police officer. I realized I'm like, oh, both sides have won easily because at the end it's very difficult to sneak out as the
right. And I will say it solves for me my biggest problem with hidden movement games. That I always feel like the hunters, or the non-hidden side, because it's not always the hunters, don't have enough agency. Like usually their action is, I'm going to look for you. Right. And that's kind of it. And that falls flat for me. I get bored very quickly with that. This, I felt like there was a lot of agency. Yes, I had many turns that I was like, I'm going to move 2 spaces. You're up.
Yeah.
But it was okay because on the turns that I was able to do things, I felt like I was doing something unique. It was something interesting because it was the cards that was driving it. So I was doing something a little bit different. Not my favorite genre of all time, but I think that this one really excelled in that genre. It stood out.
Yeah, I'm very happy with it. I got the deluxeified version of the game and shocker, but it was there wasn't a lot. And the funny thing is, I got the miniatures and I don't even use them. I like the wooden the core game ones.
The tokens.
Yeah. There's miniatures too.
I don't think I realized you had the minis.
They're okay. I'll be honest, they're not my favorite miniatures.
All right.
And it's just easier just because
the tokens were great.
Yeah, and they have the art on them, so I like that. So it's a solid game. I like the order of it, and again, you can knock out a hidden movement in 69 minutes without huge fights breaking out. So, big fan. For me right now, I'm probably 8 out of 10 on this one.
I've only played it once. I'm not going to give it a number right now. Probably somewhere in the same range, though, to be honest, which is high praise for me for a hidden movement game.
Right.
Last one up for me is going to be a game that I had kickstarted a couple years ago, came in this year, From the Moon. I know, shocker, space-themed game. This is so you've got a grid of places that you can go, and you've got your little rovers that go out and do actions in it. And your rovers are going to be able to do different things based off of which astronauts you have in the rover at that given time. And I really like it because I think they call it something like a worker modification game or something, because you're still just doing a worker placement at the end of the day. But like that same worker, depending on which combination of astronauts you have in the rover, is going to be able to do very different things. It's modular so that the tableau is always different each time. You're building buildings, you're collecting technology. I really, really enjoyed it. I got it to the table with the 3 of us. Sean really liked it too, and which is a big win for me when a Kickstarter game he enjoys. And then I got it to the table solo shortly thereafter, and it holds up solo as well, which is really nice and doesn't always happen in some of these worker placement games. Worker placement's a hit or miss for me solo. But really solid game. I'm very much enjoying it. Need to table it more before I give it a really solid number, but right now I'm somewhere between an 8.5 on it.
Yeah, I don't think I could score it at this time. I think I only had the one
Played
play.
it once, yeah.
But from what I played, I enjoyed it. It reminded me some of that, like an Anachrony
Yes.
type thing, where like you're that or Darwin's Journey too, where it's like you are changing the workers' strengths. Yeah. And my last game for the list here is really recently I grabbed, which is and has skyrocketed on BGG, is the Duel from Middle Earth. So this is basically a reskin of is it Seven Wonders?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seven Wonders Duel or whatever. It is fantastic, and it is a drafting card game where you are building up the three different ways to win in the game is either having enough alliance of the different races of folks throughout Middle Earth, or you conquer the 7 areas, or you are Frodo and Sam, you throw the ring in, or you're the ring wraiths and you capture. Because one of you is playing Sauron, one of you is playing the heroes of Middle Earth. And it's just fast. You can play this game in about 50. I mean, the game, I think it says 30 minutes in the box, but we played in about 15, 20 minutes. I've played 15 plus times at this point. And we've seen every victory type condition, and each side has one. So
nice.
Both. We've seen Sauron victories. At first, we weren't sure like how the balance was, but now seeing it, it's possible to do all of it. And it's a game where you can easily lose sight because you start playing it so fast of like forgetting like, oh, they're one area, like if they get Rohan, they win, and you just forget because you're like, but they also are only 2 spaces away from catching me. It's like you're super dialed in on this, forgetting this, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I won.
Yeah, so I haven't played this one yet. I'm very excited to play it. You're bringing it with you to PAX, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you weren't before, you are now.
Yeah,
right?
it's because it's a faster player game. This is a perfect warm up, cool down game. My brother and I will play it. We'll play 2-3 games in a row.
Nice.
Because you're like, reload, rack it again. Like it's just.
No, I lost that time. We gotta go again. Gotta go.
Yeah, it's so much fun because you get these nail biters too. Because it's like you're very close. And I love the little track for the ring race chasing.
You shared a picture of that to our group the other day. It's adorable.
Yeah, so it's adorable because it's 2 plastic things that go on top of this little journey throughout Middle Earth, and one controls Sam and Frodo, and the other one is this little one that moves within that plastic track of the ring wraiths. So
they're never too far behind you?
Well, yeah, they're always, because they're moving along with you on your track, and they're just getting closer, so they just have to get to there, or you have to get to the end of the board.
Seems like a clever little game.
Very funny. It's light, but it's solid drafting game, and I think drafting is a mechanic that at first I didn't realize in the hobby that I was going to love it as much as I do.
Yeah.
And I love drafting. I hate drafting. Like the puzzle of being like, I don't want that card, but I know I don't want you to have that card. It's just it's an interesting place in the hobby. We're like,
it's fun for me too.
Well, it's funny in this game too, because like when you discard that, you can just discard a card for just money, and it's like a kind of a weak move.
Yep.
But sometimes you just do it because you're like, you cannot have that card. Like, so solid game, highly recommend right now. Easily a 5 out of 10 for me. It's fantastic.
Awesome. So that was our 24 games ish.
32.
No, I think we're up to 34.
34 games or whatever it was. It's been a long
2024.
year.
Yeah. One for every month, it feels like.
Well, that's a long year. So was happy to get through some of these. If you, in seeing the games, if there's one that you would like us to do more specific content on, a longer video, please go ahead and comment below, and we will definitely prioritize that.
We recognize there are more games that came out this year that we did not touch on. We both have full-time jobs.
Yeah. But if you have questions on any of these games, we can definitely touch on them more. If we can even do some short-form content on them as well if you have specific questions. Otherwise, we will be at PAX coming up soon, so looking forward to that. And Level Up at the beginning of next year. Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed going over this. We'd love for you to like and subscribe. And with that, we wish you good luck with all of your future board game adventures.
And thank you for joining us on ours.